All right, all right, all right. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the That's an Awful Take podcast. I'm your host with the most, Price Mancer, here to make the most out of your day. Hope everyone's doing well. Guys, we got such a great episode in store for today. A little special guest, if you couldn't see from the title. We'll get into that in a little bit. But, hope everyone is having a wonderful Thursday. A wonderful week as well. It's been a chill week for me, so can't complain there. A lot's been happening in the sports world. Can't wait to talk about it with you all. So it's really going to be a good episode today. We got a lot of great stuff in the works. Gang in here. What up, Bennett? What up? So, let's go ahead and introduce our guest here. So without further ado, we're bringing in Joshua Hersey, baby. Let's go. Whoop, whoop. So, guys, we got the main man in here, Joshua Hersey. So, Joshua's just going to talk about some ball with us, some baseball. So, as you guys know from last week, the center of our episode is based off of, it's based off of baseball this week. I don't know much about baseball. I'll be real. I'm not a baseball expert. And Josh is. So really just the perfect guy to have on today. So yeah, without further ado, Josh, introduce yourself. Say something, man.
Yeah, so I'm Josh. A lot of people know who I am. Bennett, what's up? I can't see you, but I hope you're having a great Thursday.
Yeah, we got a whole gang in here.
Basically,
JT, Josh, all them.
Basically just a baseball nerd. I don't know if you know what the Immaculate Grid is, but that's like my pride and joy. That's what I do on a daily basis. Just basically straight up baseball loser.
Baseball loser. That's what we love to see. That's what we need. I'm a football loser, basketball loser. Get Josh in for the baseball loser. So we're just going to go over a couple of questions about baseball, pretty much, just some things for the upcoming season. So as you guys know, season starts in March. So spring training just started today. I think they're playing a game right now, Dodgers and the Cubs or something. But yeah, we're just going to go over, do a little basic show at first, just to, dip our feet in the water with this baseball stuff, see what Josh has to say. It's all going to be great stuff. So let's go ahead and get into our first question for Josh. So Josh, who are your top 5 worst teams in baseball this year?
Yeah, so the worst teams, I think there's going to be 3 teams who lose over 100 games. The White Sox are going to be the first. They're going to be the most obvious. You can't lose 120 games last year and then expect to win over or less than 100 games this year. So, I don't think they'll be as bad as they were last year. You look at their offseason, they actually had a pretty decent offseason, relatively speaking. You bring in guys like Mike Tauchman, Joey Gallo, Rangers legend. They brought him in. Matt Theis. This lineup's going to be, it's not going to be good, but it's going to be, better than it was last year. Last year was just straight rookies. So you bring in veteran guys like Tauchman and like Joey Gallo, the lineup's going to be a little bit better.
Sure.
Bullpen's solid. They brought in Penn Murphy from the Astros, Cam Boozer from the Red Sox, James Karinchak from the Guardians, excuse me. But, this lineup, it's not going to be good. They're going to still probably going to lose or win 58 games tops. But, anytime you've got Martin Perez as your ace, you're in for a long year. So
Yeah, for sure. And you got some at least one good prospect in Colson Montgomery, I know for sure. The guy I saw last year was raking. The splits weren't that good, at least his batting average, but hit some nukes. So a lot of hope there, at least, right?
Exactly. He's going to be their everyday shortstop from day one. I don't think he's going to win Rookie of the Year, but, he's up there for front runners solely based on the fact that, he's their everyday guy from day one.
For sure.
I was fortunate to watch him play in person.
Gwinnett.
Down in Gwinnett, but, the dude's huge. I think he's like a month older than I am, but he's probably my size. So, it makes me feel good about myself.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. So team number 5, we got, or one of the worst team probably, the White Sox. Come on. Kind of give it in there.
I don't know. I think the Marlins might actually be worse than the White Sox this year. I think, I don't think the White Sox, they're going to be bad, but I don't think they're going to be, they're not going to lose 120 games again this year. But, there's a good chance that the Marlins could lose 110 games this year.
Yeah. And what I've read about the Marlins is that they have a lot of prospects, like they've traded for, like through last season and stuff, but they're just not ready yet. So they're
Yeah.
kind of like leaving him there, and then you have like it leaves him in a weird spot because other guys are still in the farm, and then but the pitching rotation, like potentially rotation wise, their rotation could be really good between Rui Perez, Alcantara comes back, right? So
they've got the rotation's strong, but that's it. You look at a common theme in the teams who are the worst team in baseball. I mean, 2 years ago it was the A's, last year was the White Sox. The common theme is, they don't do anything in the offseason. They kind of feed their young guys to the wolves, so to speak, and that's kind of what the Marlins are doing this year.
yeah, for sure.
Xavier Edwards and besides Jonah Bride, I mean, it's all a young, unproven lineup who they're just kind of feeding to the wolves. The rotation could be good. You're right.
Yeah.
Getting Sandy Alcantara back is, kind of a huge step in the right direction. Yuri Perez is a stud. They brought in Cal Quantrill, but besides that, this team is going to be really good.
For sure. So we got Marlins and the White Sox now. So number 3,
Rockies. I think the Rockies are the only other team that loses 100 games. This is a really deep lineup. I mean, Ezekiel Tovar, Brenton Doyle, they're both stars in the makings. 2 years ago, Nolan Jones was a top 10 player. What was that?
I said for sure. Nolan Jones just needs to stay healthy, though,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even when he was healthy, he wasn't that good. They've still got Chris Bryant. He's not going to win an MVP anytime soon. Ryan McMahon's up there. So it's a good lineup. But, the Rockies, the thing with the Rockies is they're always going to hit, but they're always going to be bad pitching.
Yeah, for sure. That's what it is playing up there in Coors Field, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but, my MLB The Show franchise was with the Rockies. So, things got a little, we got nice, but all of my pitchers had like a 5 ERA. Like, it's just, you can't limit home runs in that ballpark. So the pitching is always not going to be that good.
Exactly. They're never going to be good at pitching, but this year especially, I mean, they've got Kyle Freeland as their ace. I mean, I know a couple of years ago they wanted him to be an ace, but he never quite panned out. But
yeah, and then Marquez, what's the deal with Herman Marquez? Is he still hurt or?
He'll be back. He'll probably get hurt again. Same with Antonio Senzatella, but it's kind of just the story with them.
Yeah, bullpen rotation. The lineup could be good. You got some young, like Tovar has a potential to be really good, and you just got a bunch of old guys on that team. Doyle has potential to be really good as well, but between Chris Bryant, Ryan McMahon, it's like, and then as you mentioned before, the pitching, Kyle Freeland, it's like, what are you really like? What is your cap there? It's not very high.
Yeah, exactly. You've got some pieces in the bullpen. Seth Halverson was great for them down the stretch. Victor Vodnik's going to be their closer. Yeah. But, Jimmy Herget's there. I mean, there's not a lot to be excited about on the pitching staff.
For sure. So Josh said, if you weren't here before, 3 teams that were going to lose 100 games. Those are the 3 picks right there. White Sox, Marlins, and the Rockies. So next 2 teams, what do we got, Josh?
We got the Angels again. The Angels, it's a story again. They went out and spent a bunch of money this offseason. They signed Yusei Kikuchi to a large deal. Hopefully Mike Trout's going to be healthy. They're moving him to right field, but, if Anthony Rendon's out again, there's just really not.
What are you going to do?
Exactly. It's always a recipe for disaster over there.
Yeah, and I do agree. Spending money on pitchers is great, especially a really good one, but Yusei Kikuchi, I feel like they're, especially this offseason, there were definitely better options.
Oh yeah, 100%. And they signed him off rip too. It's like offseason started, Yusei Kikuchi gets $63 million.
Yeah, it's insane. And then, I think last year, right, they had a ton of rookies play, right?
Yeah, they did. They kind of gave up on. They always started off with the old guys and then kind of gave up. Gave away to some young guys that didn't really pan out. There's some guys who I can't pronounce his name. He's got a really weird last name, but he's going to be a solid 4 for them. Kind of besides that. Yeah. That's it. Tyler Anderson's back. There's not a lot to look forward to there.
Yeah, and I watched a video on TikTok the other day. It was like in 2021, the Angels used all of their draft picks on pitchers, and I think none of them have turned out yet, or at least maybe one. Like, it was just bad.
They've got a theme of, guys that they draft. They like to take college guys who are quote unquote MLB ready and then rush them through the minors. So,
Yeah.
we'll see that again with Christian Moore, who, after the All-Star break, there's a pretty good shot that he'll be on that team and he'll probably underperform as well.
Yeah. I mean, the management's got to change, right? I mean, what are we doing here?
Yeah, but at the end of the day, you also can't help injuries.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Field, they're going to be good.
Yeah, for sure. All right, the last worst team.
This one might be a hot take, but the Rays.
The Rays, wow.
I think the story with them is they signed Ha-Seong Kim, but that was it. They kind of like to turn over young guys and give young guys a chance. They're always good at developing young guys, but I think when you're in a division like the AL East, which is the strongest I think we've ever seen the AL East,
sure.
I think the Rays are the odd team out there.
And that's a team that historically has had success with young players and not spending a lot of money. I think they went to the World Series a couple of years ago, correct?
Yeah, back in 2020. I mean, it's been a couple of years, but they tend to make the playoffs. We saw them trend in the wrong direction last year. I mean, they were under 500 for the first time in a couple of years.
Yeah. And
I just think with how good the AL East is, I think it just gets worse.
Yeah, for sure. And they have that. What's his name? Starts with a C. Is his last name like Canelo? That's the boxer. What's his name?
I don't know if that's who you're referring to.
Who?
Shane McClanahan.
That's the pitcher, right? He's a fielder. What's his name? He came in last year. Is it Candelero?
Oh, Junior.
Yeah.
He'll be their 3-hole hitter. He's younger than me, so it makes me feel good knowing that 3-hole. Yeah. But I don't know if he's going to be a guy who 10 years from now it could be the best player in baseball. But in terms of this year, I think it'll be kind of some growing pains for him this year.
For sure. A lot up in the air, obviously, with a young guy, going to the bigs. It's like not a lot to be sure of.
Exactly. I mean, that's most of their roster. When you think of him, you've got Curtis Mead as well. Johnny DeLuca is going to be their everyday center fielder. Who I don't even know if you know who that is, but he's not good at all.
Yeah. I think I've seen him before. And didn't they trade someone recently, or am I?
They probably did. Drawing a blank on it. They did sign Ha-Seong Kim from the Padres.
Yeah. Shout out my Korean brother, by the way.
What's that?
I said shout out my Korean brother, by the way. Yeah.
He'll be good. But, other than that, I don't think that might be a hot take. They could be a lot better than what I'm thinking. But I just don't. I think when you're in that powerhouse division, I think they're just kind of the odd team out.
Yeah, especially when you're playing those guys, most of the year, those better teams that are better than you. And then on top of that, once again, you were talking about unproductive off seasons. Team that's kind of had an unproductive off season, only signing Ha-Seong Kim pretty much. So,
yeah,
it's not a recipe for success necessarily, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, the Blue Jays spent a lot of money. Everybody in that division spent money except for the Rays, and there's a greater than zero chance that they all finish over 500. Sure. So when you've got 4 of the 5 with winning records, somebody's got to take the heat.
Someone's got to be the odd man out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. So that was our worst team. So just a quick little recap. We got the White Sox, the Marlins, the Rockies, the Angels, and the hot take of them all, the Tampa Bay Rays. We're going to take a look over at chat real quick. Chat's going crazy. What up, everybody? We got JT, Neil, Bennett, whole gang in here, bro. Everyone's saying what's up.
Gang.
Liam. About a brother, Liam in there. Zach, bro. Let's go.
Of the year.
Caden, Josh. Hey, Caden's asking, is Josh going to pop out for Tent City this weekend?
Probably not. I wouldn't get your hopes too high on that
one. Please ask Josh. Did you line up your beard this morning just for the pod?
Yeah, I kind of messed up. It kind of went down and over.
I can't see it. I can't see it.
But, yeah.
Nice. And Bennett, we got a special question from Bennett. We love Bennett Colbert here on the podcast. All-time question dropper, Bennett Colbert. He said, Josh, he wants to know your thoughts about the Pirates.
It's I'm not sure if anybody else knows in the chat, but we got Bennett a nice little birthday gift. Paul
We
Skeens
did. We did. We
jersey.
all pitched in. Shout out.
He loved it. Just wanted to throw that in there. But
Sure.
it's not a lot to be excited about. I think, last year they won 76 games. I think they win 77 games this year.
Yeah. Yikes. Skeens did develop a two-seamer and a cutter, though.
And he's got a beard.
And he's got a beard. Things
got a
might be
beard
dangerous for Skeens.
So,
That might be it.
yeah. But, they didn't do a whole lot this offseason. They got
Yeah.
Spencer Horowitz. That was their biggest acquisition. So, I think it's a lot of the same lineup.
Yeah.
You get
sure.
Theo and Cruz, but I don't think they finish over 500.
Yeah, for sure. So we're gonna move on. We're gonna head to our division winners. So we decided, why not? We go over the worst teams. Let's go over who we think is going to win the divisions. Obviously, the divisions this year, some of them are going to be really close for sure. A lot of teams are, looking really good, as we talked about before with the AL East, right? That's what we're talking about. Yeah. AL East looks really good this year. The is it NL East, the Braves one? Yeah.
I think, AL East, NL East. I think the biggest battle will be the AL Central.
For sure.
But that'll be a good one.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and get into it. So just whatever division you want to start off with, let's go for it.
Yeah, we'll start off with the easiest one first. NL West, the Padres and Diamondbacks are going to be good. The Giants will probably be okay, but, the Padres can win 95 games, and I think the Dodgers will win that division by 10 games.
Yeah. What can you do?
Yeah. You have the best team in baseball last year, and you make it even better.
Exactly.
What you can do.
Yeah, you bring in guys, you bring in Sasaki, you bring in Snell, and you already have a rotation where you have Glass now, you have Yoshinobu, and I forget who else, but still, you have pretty much 5 ace quality guys playing.
Yeah, exactly. Ohtani comes back in May. They brought Kershaw back. You've honestly got 6 or 7 guys who, are a 1 or 2 on any other team, and, they're not even going to have a room. Dustin May is one of the most talented pitchers of the decade. He can't stay healthy, but he's not even going to make the team because that's just how stacked their rotation is.
It's insane. And then, of course, in the field, you got guys like Freddie Freeman, who, despite his age, has really not slowed down a bit since he's been traded, or since the offseason, the free agency, since he signed with the Dodgers. Obviously, Shohei is going to be Shohei. The guy's won MVP. You're not going to beat that. And then you got Mookie.
This lineup's so good that, Mookie Betts is moving to shortstop just because they don't have room for him in the outfield.
Exactly. And you got guys kind of surprised guys, I guess, last year, like Teoscar Hernandez, who raked last year and it's probably going to rake again this year. It's hard not to when you got to face Freeman, Shohei, and Mookie in 3 in a row. And now you had, those guys are on base, and all of a sudden you got Teoscar Hernandez who's going to send the ball to the moon, right?
Yeah, exactly. You've got him, Will Smith, Max Muncy, both guys who can hit 30 home runs. And Tommy Edman, who's been around for a while, but kind of had a breakout year last year.
For sure.
They brought in Michael Conforto. They brought on fellow Korean Haseong Kim. Brought him in from Korea. He's probably going to be their 9-hole, but he's going to be a stud as well. Yeah, it's unfair.
really and truly. And you look at who the big spenders are in baseball right now. Obviously, the Dodgers. It's the hot topic of discussion. The Dodgers are outspending everyone by probably a marginal amount, I'm willing to bet. So, that kind of, Bennett asked a question in the chat. He said, how does the MLB make it competitive with teams outspending others?
It's kind of hard too. I feel like when you've already got, Dodgers spending this much money, it's kind of hard just to go in and implement like a salary cap or something like that.
When it's already been done.
Yeah, exactly. It's already, you can't unchange it.
Yeah.
The good thing about baseball is that, it's such a long season. The Dodgers are notorious for, they'll be the best team in the regular season, then go into October and, they couldn't hit water if they fell out of a boat.
Yeah.
So it just kind of depends on, who gets hot at the right time. Even if they are the best team in baseball, there's still other good teams in baseball. I think the Yankees could give them a run for their money in the World Series. the Mets, if when they play them in the playoffs, the Mets could give them a run. So, it just kind of depends on who gets hot at the what time.
That's right. That's right. So that was the NL West. So yeah, let's keep it going.
Yeah. So, NL Central, this is also a blowaway division. Sorry, Bennett, but, when you've got four teams who are rebuilding, I mean, it makes it pretty clear that, the Cubs are going to run away with this division. Anytime you go out and get Kyle Tucker, you're in win now mode. I mean, you don't go out and get a guy like that if you're not wanting to win. I don't think they'll win 100 games. They'll probably win like 90 or 91. But, and the rest of your division is kind of in rebuilding mode, wanting to give younger guys a chance to play. And then you go out and just get Kyle Tucker. I mean, that's really all they needed to do. But, they got a good bullpen as well. And so I think they run away with that one.
Yeah, and I know before Bregman signed with the Red Sox, Bregman was also a big name thrown around with the Cubs for sure. But you still look at the lineup now that the Cubs are going to roll out. You're going to have Dansby Swanson, Nico Horner, Ian Happ, PCA, Kyle Tucker, all guys, at least between Ian Happ, Nico Horner, and Kyle Tucker, all guys who are really good at hitting baseballs, right? It's like, I mean, that's a pretty dangerous lineup and a pretty not great off division.
Exactly. It's not to go there's not question marks. Nico Horner, he actually had off-season surgery, so he might not even be ready for opening day. So, there's some question marks there. Their catching group's not the strongest. Miguel Amaya and Carson Kelly, they're not bad, but, they're not ideal.
For sure.
Like you said, they did miss out on Alex Bregman, so they're going with Matt Shaw, who's kind of he's going to be my Rookie of the Year candidate over there at third base. But, if he doesn't pan out, it's Gage Workman and Nicky Lopez. So, there's some question marks in the lineup, but it's definitely still a strong enough lineup to, I think, completely overpower the rest of the division.
For sure. So, yeah, the Cubs. Let's keep it going.
Yeah, NL East, this is kind of the first toss-up I've got of the night. It might not be popular, but I think it comes down to whether or not the Braves stay healthy.
For sure.
That was the biggest thing last year. You look at their 40-man roster, I mean, there's 21 or 22 guys who you could put an asterisk beside because they might spend time on the injured list. So, I think with that, I think the Mets end up winning the division just because they've got a more consistently healthy lineup. I mean, if the Braves go out and they're healthy all year, once Acuna and Strider come back, they could easily win that division. But, just based off on paper, I think the Mets are going to win that one.
Yeah, and the Mets especially have such a strong lineup as it is already. Between, you bring in Soto, you already have you bring back Pete Alonso, Francisco Lindor, obviously. You have, a lot of great bats in that lineup.
Exactly. Mark Vientos, the guy who broke out last year. I mean, he could win some dark horse MVP votes, like 20th, but, he's a great guy. Jose Siri, they brought him in from the Rays. I mean, it's just a strong lineup.
For sure. And the pitching, we didn't get to see a lot of it last year because a lot of guys were hurt. But guys like Kodai Senga, despite the age, he looked nasty when he came back as well.
Exactly. It's an older rotation, like you said. Sean Manaea's in there as well. David Peterson's getting up there. They brought in Frankie Montas. He's going to be hurt most of the year, but they brought him in. Clay Holmes, I don't think he's going to stay as a starter, but they're trying him out as a starter.
Because he closed for the Yankees last year, correct?
Yeah. Closer for the Yankees. They signed him to a starter deal. I think he ends up shifting back to the bullpen. But, even if he does, they've got A.J. Minter back there who they signed from the Braves. And it's basically the same bullpen besides that, which is
already an electric bullpen as it was.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. All right. So that was the National League, right?
Yeah, National League. I think those are probably two or three of them are easy. The kind of
for sure.
American League things where it could get a little more guessing game.
That's right, a little more dodgy. So let's go ahead and get into the American League, wherever you want to start.
Yeah, we'll start with the AL West. Completely unbiased here, but I do think the Rangers are going to win the AL West. You look at the Astros. The Astros, their core is kind of leaving. That 2017 to 2023 core. Bregman's gone. Correa's gone. Verlander's gone. Michael Brantley's gone. It's a new team that's coming in, basically. And so they take a step back. Mariners didn't do a single thing this offseason. I mean, that's the best pitching in baseball with the worst offense. Kind of even.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and then you get that, plus if the Rangers pitching rotation is healthy, DeGrom, he's back in camp for the first time in 2 years. Eovaldi looks healthy. Tyler Mahle, Cody Bradford as well, and pair that with a completely new bullpen. I mean, it's like night and day from the bullpen last year.
Yeah,
and
sure.
then if the bullpen or the lineup bounces back, I mean, you guys, Dolis Garcia, Marcus Simeon, even Jonah Heim, all guys who had major down years last year. If they bounce back, this is a Rangers team who could give, I think, the Yankees a run for their money.
Yeah, for sure. And you got guys like Corey Seager if he stays healthy. Corey Seager is always going to be a great ball player. Like we saw it. I have him on fantasy like every year, and it's great because when he's healthy, I swear he puts up like 6 points like average. And then of course you got Wyatt Langford in left field, right?
Mm-hmm. Wyatt Langford's there. Evan Carter's coming back. Leody Taveras, who's probably won't play, but he's there. Josh Young's coming back from an injury. It's just kind of the same deal as the Braves. If they can stay healthy, this is a dangerous lineup.
Yeah, and I was reading today that, Jacob deGrom, even, I didn't realize it, but even when he played for like 20 innings last season, he had like a 1 ERA, like, and like 24 strikeouts in like 20 innings.
Yeah. He doesn't play, but when he has played, I mean, he's been putting up video game numbers.
Oh, so. Yeah. No, and I was reading, it was like, predictions for the season saying, and for each team, and it was like the Rangers, is that DeGrom somehow makes it the full season, wins the Cy Young. And, we might think it's crazy because, DeGrom is a guy who hasn't played a full season probably ever, or at least in the past 5 to 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but you have a guy like Chris Sale for the Braves last year, who's 34 years old, comes in and has the best season of his career.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a crazy take because, like you said with Chris Sale, when they're healthy, they're Cy Young caliber pitchers.
Sure.
Jacob hasn't been healthy in 3 years, but, when he is healthy, he's putting up numbers like he did at the end of last year where it's, 20 innings and he's giving up 2 runs. For
sure. Let's keep it going. So that was what, the AL Central?
AL West, yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
We'll go to the Central. This one could go anywhere. I mean, you've got 4 teams who are all, just slightly above average, and they're all trying to get 86 wins. And you've got the White Sox. But, I think in this division, I'll take the safe route. The Guardians always seem to find a way to squeak out the division. I think it's not unreasonable to say that they won't squeak it out again this year. For
sure. And Guardians, of course, that's guys like Jose Ramirez at third base, correct?
Yeah. I saw. I read a story the other day that they like really tall pitchers and really short position players. They've got like their average pitcher height's like 6'5", and then their average position player height's like 5'10". Yeah. So they play small ball at the bat, and they they'll come at you with 98, 99.
That's right.
They didn't do a whole lot this offseason. Carlos Santana's back for the first time in a few years. Shane Bieber's back. They just recently signed John Means. But, when you look at the rest of that division, who also didn't really do a whole lot, I think it's not crazy to say that they're going to squeak. Yeah. They're going to win 88 games and win the division.
Yeah, I hear a lot of buzz also. I think that's the division with the Royals, correct?
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of buzz with the Royals because they bring in Jonathan India. Vinny Pasquantino obviously can rake at first base. Bobby Witt's going to be great. You got a certified ace and Cole Reagan. So why not the Royals?
The Royals remind me a lot of the 2021 Giants. The 2021 Giants were guys who were kind of older guys, and they all had career years. The Royals are kind of the same way. They brought in Seth Lugo, who was a Cy Young candidate last year. Hunter Renfroe, like you said, Jonathan India's there now. But, when you look at guys besides that, I mean, Bobby Witt's the second best player in baseball. But, I think guys kind of not regress, but they go back to what their career norms are.
For sure. And you look at the rotation, especially you lose Kyle Wright, who was like a very nice surprise for them last year.
You actually get him back.
Oh,
he didn't
sorry.
throw a whole lot.
My bad.
Yeah. They lost Brady Singer.
Yeah,
Brady Singer. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But, they get Kyle Wright back, like you said, Seth Lugo, Cole Reagan's is their ace. I mean, it's basically the same rotation they had last year. Same bullpen as well. You got Lucas Ursig in the back. He's solid. Carlos Estevez, who's, certified dog, certified closer. Yeah, but I think just kind of when you look at that roster and you look at that division, I mean, I think they finished fourth in that division.
Wow. How about that?
I think
A little spicy there, huh?
a little hot take there, but I think the team to watch out for in that division, in my opinion, is the Tigers.
Yeah, for sure.
Tigers have last year they made it known that they had Tarek Skubal and then they didn't have a rotation after that. This offseason they went out, they got a rotation. Alex Cobb was signed there.
Mm-hmm.
They've got a decent rotation now to pair with Tarek Skubal. They've got a great bullpen on top of that.
Yeah.
Their lineup was solid last year, and it only got better because they brought in Gleyber Torres.
Yeah, and there's a lot of young guys for Detroit as well.
Exactly.
It's getting about time for them. A guy that first comes to my mind, especially, is like Spencer Torkelson, who I feel like we've heard of for the past 2 years, hasn't quite panned out. So
yeah, I don't think there's honestly rumors that he might not even make the team.
Really? Wow.
We made you feel something, but I don't even think he makes the team. It's someone like Trey Sweeney. He's not going to set the world on fire at shortstop, but he's going to give you an everyday bat, and you don't have to play Javi Lopez.
Yeah.
So
thank goodness, right?
So I think that's their biggest thing is Javi Baez doesn't have to play, and they a genuine rotation this year. I think that's what makes the most sense.
For sure. All right, so we got one more, the last one, right?
AL East.
East.
4 powerhouses.
Yeah.
But I think it comes down to the Yankees and the Orioles.
For sure.
I think the Yankees have the best roster in baseball behind the Dodgers, and I think that kind of sets them over the edge. They didn't bring back Soto, but using the money that they didn't sign Soto with, they got Max Fried, they got Devin Williams, Cody Bellinger, Paul Goldschmidt. The list goes on of guys that they brought in to improve this roster.
Yeah,
and I think that's what ultimately kind of puts them over the edge over Baltimore.
Mm-hmm. And it's like the Yankees, like obviously they weren't able to bring back Soto, but you're getting a replacement for Anthony Rizzo, who was not great at all last year. Obviously, you bring in Bellinger, who I think is going to thrive in New York, especially in a shorter ballpark like that, where Cody Bellinger hasn't had a great statistical hitting season in a couple of years. But you bring him in a hitter-friendly ballpark, I think he has the potential to hit like 30 home runs.
Exactly, and the kind of biggest part about bringing Bellinger in is that you get to move Judge back to right field.
Exactly.
Playing center field the last couple of years, he hasn't been terrible by any means, but he hasn't been good, and so kind of putting him back to right field, I think, is honestly the bigger advantage in that Bellinger trade. And
Bellinger, of course, is a very good defender as well. We saw it with the Dodgers. We saw it with the Cubs. Great.
Exactly. He's good. I think kind of the biggest wild card on that team is Jason Dominguez. He's a guy who's been their top prospect for the last couple of years. Yeah. Finally getting a chance to play every day, be playing left field with them. He's not gonna. I don't think he's going to be as good as he once was thought to be.
For sure.
But he gets a chance to play every day now.
Yeah, and the rotation as well for the Yankees. You got Garrett Cole, of course. You bring in Max Fried. You have the rookies and Louis Heel, or I guess not sophomore player now, but Louis Heel, who was amazing last season, and
Clark Schmidt.
Clark Schmidt.
Carlos Rodon. Marcus Stroman's not even going to pitch for them. I mean, that's just how strong their rotation is.
For sure. So that was our 6 division winners there. We got the Yankees. Let me see if I remember them. I don't. You list them off. It was your list.
Yeah. So AL East, I got Yankees. Central, the Guardians, and then the West was the Rangers. And then NL East was the Mets. NL Central was the Cubs, and then NL West was the Dodgers.
For sure. Awesome. So we'll go ahead, take a look at chat. Not much going on, but been asked a question, kind of revolving around our next question for the interview. So our next question is that teams that could surprise this season. Obviously, there's a lot up in the air for sure, especially in like the American League. So what are some of your surprising teams that could surprise people, your dark horse teams, like stuff like that?
Yeah, kind of talked about it a little earlier, but the Tigers are a team. They're not. I don't know if they really are a surprise team since they kind of surprised people last year.
Yeah, for sure.
But given the fact that they have an actual rotation. Gleyber Torres is there. Like I said, Javi Baez doesn't have to play. I mean, this is a team who I don't know if they'll make the wild card because, like you said, there's so many strong teams in the American League, but this is a team that definitely could surprise people.
Yeah,
and,
for sure.
Maybe could win the AL Central if, things fall apart over there in Cleveland.
For sure, for sure. Let's keep it going.
Yeah, another team I got is the Red Sox. I don't know if it's quite a surprise because they did have, they made a lot of noise this offseason. But, the Red Sox are coming off a really, really disappointing 2024 season.
Yeah.
And then you go out, you sign Alex Bregman, you sign Walker Buehler, Patrick Sandoval, who won't be back until later the year, but he comes in. You get Garrett Crochet. I don't even know if some people remember, but Aroldis Chapman's our Red Sox now.
Wow.
I mean, this is a team who I think makes the playoffs for the first time, and I think they last made it in 21, but I think they make the playoffs for the first time in a few years.
Yeah, I know. I've been keeping up with the news a little bit for the MLB, just for this show right now. But, Rafael Devers has been kind of a hot name since the Bregman signing because Devers is kind of stiff. He wants to stay at third, and Devers is not, a great defensive third baseman. He can hit very well, obviously, but he's not a very good defensive third baseman. Bregman, on the other hand, is a much better defensive third baseman. So what do you think is going to happen with that situation there?
It's kind of a trickle down. You can't move Devers off first base or third base, unless you trade either Tristan Casas or Masataka Yoshida. They've been trying to move Yoshida for a while, but, with his contract, he's not going to get traded. Yeah. Nobody wants to take on that money.
For sure.
I think they'd be stupid to trade Tristan Casas. They could get a lot for him, but they've already got a solid rotation, and, he's kind of a leader on that team. And so, you can't move Devers off third unless you think about the ripple effects.
Mm-hmm.
If he's not willing to move off third, but B, Bregman's more than willing to play second base. I mean, he's a guy who probably can play second base very well just because of how athletic he is.
Yeah.
I think that's probably what ends up happening.
Yeah, and of course you got the young guys over there, and Jarren Duran, who had a kind of breakout season last year, correct?
Yeah, I mean, he kind of burst onto the scene more in 23, I would say.
Yeah.
But this was his first full season breakout, I guess. He's moving over to left field.
Mm-hmm.
Cedane Rafaela, he's moving to center field. He's an excellent center fielder. He's not going to hit, but he's an excellent center fielder.
Got to have defense out there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They've got young guys too. Roman Anthony will be up at some point this year.
Mm-hmm.
Marcelo Mayer will play shortstop at some point once Trevor Story gets hurt.
Yeah.
And you got Christian Campbell, who I think kind of with the Bregman signing, he's sort of the one. He's in the news as well because he's sort of the odd man out in that situation. But I think more so for 2026, Christian Campbell's a guy to watch out for too.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, the Red Sox and the
Tigers.
You got any more?
Yeah, I got two more. The A's, actually, they're not going to make the playoffs. They probably won't even finish over 500. But, this is the first time in 3 years that the A's have actually put together a respectable roster. I mean, you look at them 2 years ago when they won, I think it was 50 games. This is a team who their young core is finally starting to be put together.
For sure.
Shea Langeliers is a solid backstop. Lawrence Butler is a stud. Brent Rooker's a top 15 player in baseball. J.J. Bleday is finally breaking out.
Yeah.
And they bring guys into that rotation like Luis Severino and Jeffrey Springs.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, they're not going to make the playoffs, but this is a team who, they're going to be a lot better than people think.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I agree. And especially you look at the back half of the season for even just Langeliers and Butler. I mean, absolutely electric hitters. They're sending baseballs to the moon. I can't stop harping about moonshots, but Lawrence Butler and Shea Langeliers, obviously former Braves prospect Shea Langeliers, but I mean they all just look great. I think the young core in Sacramento now, I guess, right? They're playing in Sacramento for this season, correct?
No name A's, but it's they not a lot of people know this, but they were one of the best teams in baseball in the last 2 months of the season. They were over 500. And they were just. This is a team who's going to be a lot better than people think.
Yeah, and obviously once the management was a big thing the past 2-3 seasons on, potentially moving the team, not doing things for the fans and whatnot. And you think, once all that kind of settles down, because they're moving to Las Vegas, correct?
Yeah, 2028.
So, I feel like, once that move is solidified, I think, that roster has a lot, and that just depends if they're willing to re-sign, obviously, because they're young players, they're obviously going to demand a lot of money because they're really good. And Oakland is a historically cheap franchise. So
yeah, I mean, this was the offseason where this was the first time they've spent money in, forever. I mean, the Luis Severino deal was 3 years, and I think it was like $65 million around there. But that was, the largest contract in franchise history.
Really? Wow.
It's $60 million's the largest.
That's insane.
They're getting there though.
Yeah, for sure. Big things in the future for them, hopefully.
Exactly. Kind of building off that, the last team I got that surprised people would be the Nationals. It's kind of in the same boat as the A's. They're not going to make the playoffs. They're kind of they're in a really difficult division. They probably won't even finish 500. But, this is the team that, quietly had one of the better off seasons in baseball. They brought in Nate Lowe from the Rangers, Josh Bell, Ahmed Rosario.
Yeah, a lot of good. Yeah, a lot of good veteran hitters there.
Exactly. You pair that with their young core like Dylan Cruz, James Wood, Robert Hassel will be up at some point this year. I mean, this is a team who's taking steps in the right direction.
Yeah, for sure. And then I know they were talking. I was reading some stuff about is it Federer, one of their pitchers.
They had Eric Fetty a couple of years ago. If that's who you're thinking of.
I don't know. Never mind. This is not my sport, but we're trying to make it that. We're trying to make it that just for the pod. But yeah.
But they did sign Michael Soroka. They signed
wow.
him. He's going to be in their rotation. They signed, I'm not even going to try to pronounce it, but they signed some Japanese guy to a 2-year deal who's apparently pretty good over in Japan. So, they've got good things coming.
There we go. Yeah, the Nats. I honestly really like it. I mean, obviously, James Wood, we saw it a little bit last season, right? Where he looked very good. And I think it's basically a given that he's going to have a really good season this year. And then Dylan Cruz comes up, or he's going to probably be that center fielder for them this season, correct?
Yeah, he'll be, he's their everyday guy, rookie of the year front runner. I mean, there's a lot to be excited about with that. For
sure. So that was the most surprising teams, right? So we got the Nationals, Tigers, the A's, and who else was it? The Red Sox, yes. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into the final question on our disappointing team. So you know how we go. Worst, best, surprising, disappointing. Let's hear it. I'd love to hear these.
Yeah, starting off rip, I know we talked about it a little bit earlier, but the Royals are a team that I think will disappoint people. They had a great surprise season last year, kind of talked about it a little bit this year. I think they kind of go back to normal, so to speak.
For sure.
I could be wrong and they could surprise again, but, I think with the Tigers kind of coming up more, they're one of my more surprised teams. I just think that, the Royals kind of go back to normal. They're a little under 500, and I think that's just an overall disappointment.
Yeah, for sure. And, you lose, those guys who had their best seasons with them, especially in the rotation.
I mean, it's Seth Lugo. He was a big part of their team last year. He was, third in the Cy Young voting. Mm-hmm. That's completely out of normal for him.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Yeah.
And, so I think that's kind of the big reason there is you got guys like Seth Lugo. Michael Wacha is probably going to take a step back. Michael Lorenzen as well.
Yeah. So the Royals, what else we got for us?
You could honestly say any team in the NL Central. The Cardinals are trying to rebuild. They're they're kind of the same team they were last year.
Yeah.
Brewers, it's not as much of a disappointment because it's kind of given that you trade away Devin Williams. They're trying to get into a new team, a younger team, so to speak.
For sure.
The Pirates talked about them a little bit, didn't do a whole lot, but I think the biggest disappointment in that division is the Reds.
Yeah, for
sure. Been having that core that they've had for the last 2 years now with Ellie De La Cruz, Andrew Abbott, Noelvi Marte. You bring in Brady Singer and you bring in Gavin Lux. I mean, they're just doing what they can to get over the hump, but I just, I don't think get over that hump.
Yeah, for sure. And we could talk about the Cardinals for a little bit. It's almost like they're stuck in limbo, really, because it's like they want to rebuild. They let Goldschmidt walk, but you're keeping Arenado, you're keeping Sonny Gray. It's like you got to kind of make up your mind there what you're going to do. They have the closer. What's his name?
Helsley.
Yeah.
They're in a weird spot because they tried to trade Arenado. He's got a no trade clause, so you can't deal him without him wanting to do it.
Yeah.
He had a deal in place for the Astros that he didn't want to go to the Astros. I don't know if they did or if they almost did have a deal with the Red Sox for him, and then he didn't want to go there either. So, you're in a weird spot with him. I think if they want to get any value from anybody, they need to trade Helsley.
Yeah, for sure.
But he's still younger, so they're adamant on keeping him.
Mm-hmm.
But even with Arenado, this lineup's not bad. You've got
sure.
Walker, Arenado, Mason Wynn, Lars Newbar's coming back, Wilson Contreras. It's a solid lineup.
Yeah, Nolan Gorman. Hopefully he can put it together.
Exactly. They just don't have a whole lot on the pitching side.
That's right.
Got Sonny Gray, and that's about it.
Yeah, pretty brutal pitching there. So your pick for the division though was the Royals, right?
Reds.
Royals
and Reds.
Royals and Reds. Sorry. Yeah, and the Reds obviously. You're bringing in Gavin Lux, who has kind of been like, I remember when, he was drafted and that whole process of him, like he was supposed to be this great prospect for the Dodgers, correct?
Yeah. He was supposed to be not the next big thing, but he was supposed to be a lot better than he ended up being.
For sure.
But, you kind of bring him in, you bring Brady Singer in to pair with, Ellie De La Cruz, Tyler Stevenson, Noelvi Marte, Hunter Green. It's just, you've got this great young core who, should get you over the hump, so to speak, but they've just kind of been they haven't gone up. They've been kind of plateauing.
For sure. All right, let's keep it going.
I think the biggest disappointment in all of baseball this year will be the Blue Jays. They're kind of going up on the end of their core. Vlad Jr. is going to be a free agent after this year. Bo Bichette, I think, is either this year or next year, but, they're in win now. At an all-time high.
Oh, for sure.
Playoffs this year, it's, they kind of go downhill from here. So, and I think based on the fact that the AL East is a lot stronger than they are, and they're kind of just playing catch-up, I don't think they're not going to be a bad team, so to speak, but, I think based on the fact that they might not even make the playoffs, it's going to be a huge disappointment.
And it really sucks for the Blue Jays because the Blue Jays are a team that in the offseason has thrown around a lot of money, but just to get beat out. Like, they were supposed to be the team that landed Shohei. They, threw a bag at Soto, I believe, this offseason, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
they do. And,
finished
second in that race. It's just a lot of finishing second.
Yeah.
So
they don't want to sign Guerrero Jr., or at least they're denying the offer. I remember reading that Guerrero had his original offer, and then he even went down, and the Blue Jays were still said no.
It's more the other way around. He wants, I think they offered him like 330, 340, and he wants, north of 400 million, which I think he'll probably end up getting. But it's just kind of a who's going to bite first game. Who's either the Blue Jays give him more money or if he's going to have to just settle for less.
Yeah, and then obviously Bo Bichette is a guy who had a pretty down season last year.
Exactly.
Hopefully he can turn it around this season.
He's a guy who's been, one of the best hitters in baseball from, 2020 to 2023. And then last year it was, completely opposite.
Yeah.
They need him to take a big step forward. The pitching's not getting any younger.
Yeah, for sure.
Exactly. They brought in some young guys last season, like mid-season trades in the Yusei Kikuchi trade. Yeah. Those guys didn't pan out at all. You've still got young guys like Joey Loperfido. Will Wagner was really good for them last year. So, they've got a good roster. It's just, when you're in the AL East and such a strong American League this year, it's just, I think it's going to end up being disappointment.
It's going to be second place, maybe even less. Who knows? Yeah. You got it.
And then kind of the last disappointing team I've got is the Phillies. They're kind of in the same boat as the Blue Jays. You've got guys like JT Realmuto, Alec Boehm, Ranger Suarez, Kyle Schwarber, they're all free agents after this year. And, you know, besides Schwarber, you know, those guys probably aren't going to come back. You know, maybe they bring back Real Muto on a 1 or 2 year deal, but, you know, this is kind of their last window as well, so to speak. They got to start a new core.
Yeah. So, and, you know, you think about age, and of course, age is becoming less of a factor in baseball as we've moved ahead, but, you know, it's not crazy to say that guys like Bryce Harper's getting old, or guys like Trey Turner, right?
You know, you're right. It's not crazy to say that. You know, they haven't shown it, but, you know, sooner or later they are going to start showing it. And, you know, we've seen it with JT Realmuto. You know, he's still putting up great seasons with the bat, but, you know, it's just been kind of steady decline. You know, he's gone from the best defensive catcher in baseball to, you know, his defense last year was below average, and that's just being generous. You know, Alec Boehm's always had some question marks there. Nick Castellanos, you know, he's really starting to show his age.
Yeah,
you know,
for
it's
sure.
kind of
For sure. That's kind of crazy. I know, you know, obviously the Phillies are, you know, it's like kind of like Thanos in that division, really, especially after last season, how they really kind of dominated the division, it felt like, especially with the Braves being hurt, the Mets not able to put it together, you know, also having injury woes of their own. So it's going to be interesting to see for sure. I bet on, what's his name? Zach Wheeler. I bet on his strikeouts over the season. So
that's a good, what was the line?
I think it was 198 or something.
It's a good line. I like.
I'll show it later. For sure. But yeah, so yeah, guys, that was Josh Hersey on the pod. First guest. We love it there. Our last question, disappointing teams. We got the Phillies, the Blue Jays. What were the other two?
The Reds and the Royals.
There we go. Josh, thank you so much for coming on, man. We appreciate it. We'll have you back for sure. I know everyone loves it. You know a lot more MLB than I do. You know, I've been trying, you know, but
yeah, you knew your stuff. You knew a lot. But
I appreciate it. I had
a blast.
Yeah, dude. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. All right, guys. So that was our interview with the Joshua Hersey. Guys, I really hope you enjoyed that one. First guest on the podcast ever. So that was awesome. Thanks, Josh, once again for coming on. We talked about it before. You know, I don't know a lot about baseball. I've been trying, but he's, in terms of people I know who know baseball, he's probably number one. So yeah, huge shout out to Josh for coming on. If you guys want him to come on back, you know, please let me know. We'll for sure have him on again. I think he's just so knowledgeable. You know, big Rangers fan, that guy. Worked, you know, even in the minor leagues. So this guy knows his stuff. He lives and breathes baseball. So shout out Josh for coming on. I really enjoyed that. I hope you guys did too. So if you guys see me take his takes and use them, you know, it might happen, because I mean, the guy's just so knowledgeable. It was super cool to have him on. So, you know, we still got a little bit of time left, so I'm gonna just go over a quick couple things. Just a little bit, you know, what's been happening recently, especially revolving the NBA. So we got we'll start with Four Nations. So if you don't know what the Four Nations is, hockey exhibition. Four Nations: USA, Canada, Sweden, and Finland. Really entertaining to watch. I'm not a big hockey guy at all, but I've started to tune in. You know, obviously we had the crazy fight, or 3 fights, I guess, between Team USA and Team Canada, where USA took the win 3-1. And both of these teams are now going to meet tonight at 8, I believe, in the Four Nations final. Going to be an absolutely electric game. It's going to be interesting to see if, you know, the Team USA can take it home. I hope they do for you know, Team USA's sake. But I think Canada really has something to play for there. So I wouldn't be surprised if Canada won. But patriotically, I'm going to say, let's go Team USA. Rah. But yeah, so I was just going to talk about that. The fights were crazy. That was awesome. It really made me feel good to be an American there. But let's get into some basketball just for this last 4 minutes. One thing I think I really want to talk about right now is Luka's performance since being traded to the Lakers. So obviously, biggest trade in NBA history for sure, without a doubt. But you look at it, Luka hasn't been very good at all for the Lakers since he has gotten back, and we can check this here. The past couple games, and it's not like bad, but it's nothing to be alarmed about. But you look at the reasons why the Mavs are trying to trade him, you can kind of see them, right? He has, in 3 games so far, he's put up he's averaging 15 points pretty much. Obviously he had his best game, in my opinion, yesterday against Charlotte, put up 14, 11, and 8, kind of those Luka-ish numbers. But I think for me, it's Luka was trying to rush to, and the Lakers as an organization were trying to rush to get back into that, get Luka back on the court. And, the Mavs were kind of taking it slow, and that's why they traded him. Obviously, that was kind of one of the big reasons. But I think that, what the reason why the Mavs traded him is kind of showing right now. Like, they rushed him back. The Lakers kind of, in my opinion, rushed him back from injury. And you're kind of seeing that. Like, he's looking kind of rough. He's not shooting very efficiently. His best game, he shot 37% from 3, which is great. But in the other 2 games, he's shooting 11% and 14%. So it's not, it's not really looking fantastic right now. And another thing, and one of the main concerns I had when the trade first happened, was the spacing between him and LeBron. Him and LeBron play the same role. They're both, guys who are going to take the ball up. They are, whether you want to call it point guard, point forward, like they're the guys who are they're taking the ball up the court. And to me, they kind of, they have more or less, they play the same way, if you get what I mean. Both of them, especially with LeBron right now, where he's at in his career, LeBron was a scorer, averaging like 30 points a game a couple years ago. But now you look at him, he's kind of became more of a playmaker kind of guy. Obviously, he's still putting up 20, 25 points a night, but you've seen the assist numbers rise up. You've seen the rebounds numbers rise up. And I kind of think that's the same role Luka plays. So once again, I think that the Lakers really tried to rush Luka back from injury, and we're seeing that in his struggle so far as a Laker. So it's going to be interesting to see. I'm sure it'll all pan out in like a month, but I think something needs to give for the Lakers here and for Luka. I think something's not right, in my opinion. And speaking of not right, you can talk about the Mark Williams trade, where Mark Williams rescinded his trade, or the trade somehow got rescinded. The Lakers said Mark Williams failed his physical. Mark Williams says, I don't know, like, I'm healthy. Maybe I played a lot of minutes in my last game as a Hornet, so that's why my physical failed. I don't know, but it's looking really fishy. And in my opinion, it was kind of a good deal for both teams. But maybe the Lakers thought they were getting fleeced or something, because you're giving up Connect and a first-round pick for Mark Williams, which I think is completely justified. I think that's a great trade for both sides, honestly. Mark Williams is a very good young big, and Dalton Connect, pairing Dalton Connect with LaMelo and Brandon Miller, I think is a great idea. But obviously the trade was rescinded, so I think there, once again, something more is going on there, and it's going to be interesting to see. Obviously, we got Wemby. Wemby's out for the season with a blood clot. So kind of similar to Chris Bosh. Hopefully not as severe, but obviously what ended Chris Bosh's career is the same blood clot that Wemby's got. But Brandon Ingram also had the same blood clot. So it's not. I think it's not going to be as severe, especially compared. That was in the 2010s. It's now 2025. Medicine's obviously improved, especially in the sports field. So I think Wemby should be fine. A lot of people are freaking out because Chris Bosh had the same career-ending injury, but Wemby's going to be fine. But it sucks he's out for the season. From a management standpoint for the Sacramento Kings, the San Antonio Spurs. Sorry, I think this is a really great idea. You already have, I think, the Hawks' first-round pick. I believe they have the Hawks first round pick, and then you have your own first round pick, I'm pretty sure, as well. So obviously this draft class is loaded, and bringing in, a wing in this draft class, a really good wing at that, can obviously help. You got Keldon Johnson, who I think is on the way out the door. You have Harrison Barnes, who is past that, in my opinion. So, you kind of could really pick up a wing. You have Sohan to run the 4, Wemby to run the 5. Obviously, you're going to have De'Aaron Fox at the 1, Castle at the 2, I imagine. So, I really like, potentially drafting a really good wing. Who knows who it would be with their draft picks and where they'll fall. But I think this draft class for wings looks pretty good. So, from a management standpoint, I don't hate it for the Spurs at all. And our last thing we're going to talk about, Bobby Portis is out for 25 games without pay for being suspended for drug or for using an incorrect drug, and I was a banned substance. But I was reading it, and it looks like it wasn't a banned drug. It's I forget what it was. It was the painkiller tramadol, but I think it's approved or something like that. It got mixed in. Yeah, his agent said he unintentionally took the painkiller, and Portis thought he was taking Toradol. So tramadol, Toradol, whatever, and Toradol, which is approved and something he's taken before. So I think it's kind of it's not his fault. It's really weird how that all works, and really unfortunate for Bobby Portis that you're getting suspended for the rest of the season without getting paid. So, it's not even his fault either, which is kind of weird. And it's not like the drug is giving him some god tier superpower. I mean, it's Bobby Portis. Let's be real. But I don't know. I don't think that's really justifiable. Just an interesting thing. But yeah, that's kind of what we got in NBA news. College basketball season obviously heating up now, getting into conference tournaments starting soon. So let me guys know, or let me know if you guys want to hear some college basketball content. I'd love to get into some. Obviously we don't have a lot to talk about because kind of the off season for the football. Baseball, obviously, we're getting into, as you can see from today's episode. NBA season, we're at All-Star break. Games are starting back up tonight, but that's not something I can really talk about on a week, or I can talk about on a weekly basis. But it's forever revolving, so it's not as easy to talk about as something like football. So if you guys want to hear me talk about some college basketball, obviously I'll do a bracket in March. And I'd love to talk about the conference tournaments and stuff if that's something you guys would be interested in. So yeah, I think next episode we're going to get into some draft stuff, go back to football for a little bit, talk about some top 10 position groups. We love that. So yeah, we'll open the floor to questions if anybody has any questions tonight. I appreciate y'all for coming out. We had such a great episode tonight. Thanks again for Josh for being our first guest on the show. We love that. It was great. We really enjoyed having him on. So if you guys have any questions, I'll open it up for a little bit. So looking dry. Chat's looking dry. All right, guys. Well, with that being said, please follow the TAAT Pod Instagram and TikTok. So on Instagram and TikTok at TAAT Pod. I'm going to start posting on there, I promise. So please hop on. We're going to do short form content on there. Obviously some clips from the pod and whatnot. Maybe we'll see some clips of Josh in there. Who knows, guys? But yeah, we'll get into it. Hope everyone has a wonderful Thursday, a great Thursday night. So yeah, thank y'all for coming out. See y'all next week, Thursday at 6. Follow the Instagram, follow the TikTok.